DFW FCA's Faith in Sports. I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome to the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards, honoring the top high school football player and coach in North Texas. Join us for the Landry Awards. On Faith in Sports today, we have the honor of hearing inside stories from one of the men who worked so hard to co-found the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes alongside Tom Landry. In fact, Ron Case is the guy who came up with the idea of the Tom Landry Open Golf Tournament.
He would pick out a hole, and he would be there to hit balls for every group that came through on that hole. And he would speak at the dinners and all. I mean, the guy... we couldn't have done it without Tom. I mean, I just love the guy. I mean, Tom, I'd like to tell everybody that I wish everyone could have had the opportunity to work with him, because he was even far better man and Christian than anyone would even know, and that's saying something. I remember one particular meeting when we were going to discuss how we were going to progress in the ministry, and that's when Tom got up on that chalkboard. I felt like a football player at the time.
More incredible stories from DFW FCA co-founder Ron Case in just a few minutes. This week's DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Classic moment will be delivered by former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Jon Kitna, who has a powerful ministry now serving as a high school coach.
First of all, knowing that God has a plan for every person's life. Psalm 139 says that all the days ordained for me were written about before one of them came to be. God has a plan for each of our lives. Praise God if that means you get to be a professional athlete, but hopefully it means you get to be a professional athlete because it's going to make you a better person.
Jon Kitna with a classic moment later this half hour. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes is the largest sports ministry in the world. One of the reasons is because of the incredible army of volunteers who help bring the message of Christ to student athletes. One of those great people is Terry Grayson, a coach at Frisco Centennial High.
I'm an FCA lifer. I became a Christian when I was in middle school. I was 11 years old, right before, not middle school, but like right before in 5th and 6th grade. And a coach introduced me to FCA, but I'd been going to church camp and youth group and everything, but that was FCA was the opportunity to bring my two favorite things together, being in church and learning more about Jesus Christ, and then also having sports as an influence as well. So the vehicle of FCA has been able to, be such a blessing for me in my life.
More from Coach Terry Grayson a little later this half hour. It's time to start gearing up for the 40th annual Tom Landry Open, and you are invited to join us for the Tee-Off Breakfast. That'll be January 12th. Dallas Cowboy great Cliff Harris will be joining us for the fun. The breakfast is free, the company is great, and the cause is even better. Join us for the 40th annual Tom Landry Open Tee-Off Breakfast. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the details. Our featured guest on the show today has been with the DFW FCA chapter from the very beginning. Ron Case was there when the chapter was founded. He was there during the tough times when the funds were low and the anxieties high. In fact, Ron Case is the man who came up with the idea of starting the Tom Landry Open Golf Tournament. Hey, Ron, thank you for joining us here on Faith in Sports. So how did the idea of a golf tournament come about?
Well, actually, it was, I guess the beginning was Tom. We had a meeting one day, one evening, and Tom, we got to talking about what our goals were, and Tom says, he gets to the chalkboard and he says, okay, let's list our goals, our problems, things we have to solve. And, of course, membership funds to create funds was number one. And we went through there and we listed down. We got about 10 of those deals listed, and Tom writes them on the board.
Now, when you say Tom, you're talking about Tom Landry.
Tom Landry. He was right in there with us. But once I think we stopped at 10 issues to deal with, and Tom then puts that chalk on the number one. He says, okay, now we're going to focus on this. He said, when we get that solved, well, then we'll focus on number two. When that goes away, we'll focus on number three. He says, after number three, we're going to
Prioritize,
in order to focus and get it done, which was a great lesson for us. I mean, I could see at the time that Tom using that focus with his players about how they attack their problems and deal with them. But he was always greatly involved in it. And so taking that as a challenge, I called Dennis Conner at the time, who was our area director, and I told him, I said, Dennis, we're going to put on a golf tournament, and we're going to do it in 5 weeks. And Dennis got all excited about it, too. I hadn't even called Tom. I just, it's just an idea I had. And I said, we got to do this. And I sat down and wrote out an entry form to play in the tournament and ran off, 500 or more of them. And Dennis and I papered the Byron Nelson golf tournament was coming up. And when we went out there and papered the Byron Nelson golf tournament, the Gold Pro-Am members. That's how we tried to initially do it, and plus mailing them to people we knew and so forth like that. Well, we made that first year something like I think it was over $5,000, which at the time was a lot of money.
Right.
And that's kind of how we grew. And then Tom. That was before we had any meetings on this thing. I was president of the club at the time, the FCA chapter, that local chapter, and I hadn't called Tom or anything. I just said we're going to do this thing. And like that. It wasn't like I was avoiding him. I just thought he's busy because that's a busy time for him.
Yeah.
And anyway, at our first board meeting, Tom shows up. Boy, he was more excited than anybody, and then he got involved right from the get-go with us, and it was just a fabulous, fun deal to do. I mean, and we grew it up, and I think in about 2001, I believe we made $500,000. That was the highest we ever got.
Wow.
In that 1 year, because and this was doing it without any stars or anything other than Tom. I mean, he was the only celebrity involved in the whole thing. We didn't give out free playing spots for any athletes or anything like that. Just trying to raise as much money as we could.
More with DFW FCA co-founder Ron Case coming up momentarily, and then former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Jon Kitna will bring us this week's 50th anniversary classic moment. Well, here it comes, DFW FCA's annual Weekend of Champions middle school camp, February 24th through the 26th at Lakeview Camp in Waxahachie. Now, last year, over 200 young student-athletes gave their life to Christ or rededicated their life to the Lord. You don't want to miss this. The first DFW FCA camp of 2017, the Weekend of Champions for middle schoolers. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the information. This is the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards.
You're invited to join us for the television taping of the annual DFW FCA Landry Awards ceremony. Make plans to join us Monday night, December 12th at the Hope Center in Plano as CBS 11 records live to tape the announcement of the best high school football player in North Texas, who also lives out character and leadership attributes on and off the field. Also to be awarded is the Tom Landry High School Football Coach of the Year. The awards presentation starts at 7 Monday night, December 12th. It's free, but you must sign up at dfwfca.org. There's also a reception before the awards ceremony that you're welcome to attend. It starts 1 hour before the awards ceremony and is $10 a ticket. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information. We would love to have you join us Monday night, December 12th for the prestigious Landry Awards ceremony.
In 1966, Coach Tom Landry had the inspiration to start the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. This year, Dallas-Fort Worth FCA is celebrating God's amazing impact on coaches and athletes during our 50th anniversary. Over 16,000 students and athletes are involved with FCA in North Texas. Nearly 500 coaches and teachers volunteer their time to influence student athletes. Visit dfwfca.org for more information, including how you can pick up some one-of-a-kind 50th anniversary products like caps, shirts, coffee mugs, and more.
It's hard to believe it's been 40 years, but it's just about time to start gearing up for the 40th annual Tom Landry Open Golf Tournament. DFW FCA will hold the annual TLO Tee-Off Breakfast January 12th. The breakfast is free to the public. Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor great Cliff Harris will be there to tell a few stories. Come and join us for some fun, have a free breakfast, and help us celebrate one of the greatest coaches of all time and great man of God. It's the Tee-Off Breakfast for the Tom Landry Open, Thursday, January 12th. Go to dfwfca.org for all the details.
Merry Christmas. This is Coleman Maxwell, and I work with TCU FCA. My wife, Megan, and myself would like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Welcome back to DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards. For all the information, go to dfwfca.org. We will continue our conversation with DFW FCA co-founder Ron Case momentarily. He got it all started with Tom Landry 50 years ago. And then former Cowboy quarterback Jon Kitna will provide the 50th anniversary classic moment. Now, you can look great and help support DFW FCA at the same time. Check out our 50th anniversary gear at dfwfca.org and look for the FCA store. Some amazing gifts, some beautiful clothing, amazing accessories, and yes, some very nice Christmas presents as well. We continue our conversation with one of the guys who co-founded the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes chapter, alongside Tom Landry 50 years ago, Ron Case. Now, we start gearing up for next spring's Tom Landry Open with a tee-off breakfast in early January. So, Ron, thank you for sticking around with us here on Faith in Sports. You came up with the idea of having a golf tournament to help raise money. How did you decide to put Coach Landry's name on it?
Well, his name was a drawing card for us.
Sure.
And he was great. He's always gracious about doing it for the right reasons, and he knew with his name on it that it would pull more people, and it did. And Tom was always active in it. He always, for many years, he would pick out a hole, and he would be there to hit balls for every group that came through on that hole. And he would speak at the dinners and all. I mean, the guy, we couldn't have done it without Tom. I just love the guy. I mean, Tom, I'd like to tell everybody that I wish everyone could have had the opportunity to work with him, because he was even far better man and Christian than anyone would even know, and that's saying something. I remember one particular meeting when we were going to discuss how we were going to progress in the ministry, and that's when Tom got up on that chalkboard. I felt like a football player at the time.
Felt like you were in class with him.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought like we were football players listening to him only on It's About FCA and not the next football game. But
so here's a guy, Tom Landry. He's head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, very powerful man, huge influence. Was he a my way or the highway kind of a guy, or what was he like to work with every day?
Tom, he was easy. I mean, I never felt like he was hard-nosed at all. I mean, he had strong feelings about doing this or doing that and so forth, but he did it all in a very, what I consider a very loving way. I mean, I have nothing but praise for the way he handled things and the way he used his celebrity in a way that that it pointed out that God was the answer, and he's just special. I was fortunate enough to be close to him for a long time, as far as close in terms of FCA. I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about him.
I've heard Coach Landry given his testimony, and he says that once he became a born-again believer in Christ, that he turned everything over to the Lord, and that he wasn't much of a worrier after that. Did you see that in his work at FCA?
I did, and I think that he's all about staying focused. I mean, you don't worry about, and I believe that you don't need to worry about things you can't take control, and you just put those aside and focus on what you can do. And he was good about that. He never was, even from the beginning. He just knew we were going to be successful with it because of the purpose and reason. A lot of people, I was at his funeral, and I knew it, but I'm sure a lot of people didn't know. But at his funeral, even some of those players who did not really like his style of coaching, spoke about that fact. And in the end, their efforts with him, they realized that his efforts with them was about helping them achieve and loving them. He didn't. And I never will forget that, because like Tom Henderson, who was a strong linebacker and very outspoken guy against him, he turned around and said how, he realized all that, and he realized that Tom loved him. And I'll tell you a little incident I thought was really funny. This is off the cuff, but I remember one of the FCA luncheons when Tom had invited the head coach of the Redskins at the time, Joe Gibbs, to speak, and Tom was introducing Joe and began choking for some reason, and it was pretty good. And after he finally finished, Joe got up, and the first thing he said is, "Boy, I'm glad I switched to chicken." It brought the house down. Even Tom had a great big grin on his face.
Co-founder of the DFW FCA, Ron Case, with so many amazing stories. Thank you, Mr. Case, for sharing with us. Up next, former Cowboy quarterback Jon Kitna will bring us the 50th anniversary classic moment. We would like to thank you for your prayers and your blessings for North Texas FCA. This ministry has over 16,000 student athletes attending after-school Bible clubs that we call FCA huddles. Over 600 volunteer coaches and teachers, over 900 people volunteer for North Texas FCA in some way. There's always something exciting going on with FCA in North Texas, and we would love to have you join us. Just go to dfwfca.org and get all the information. This is the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards.
You are invited to join us for the television taping of the annual DFW FCA Landry Award ceremony. Make plans to join us Monday night, December 12th at the Hope Center in Plano as CBS 11 records live to tape the announcement of the best high school football player in North Texas who also lives out character and leadership attributes on and off the field. Also to be awarded is the Tom Landry High School Football Coach of the Year. The awards presentation starts at 7 Monday night, December 12th. It's free, but you must sign up at dfwfca.org. There's also a reception before the awards ceremony that you're welcome to attend. It starts 1 hour before the awards ceremony and is $10 a ticket. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information. We would love to have you join us Monday night, December 12th for the prestigious Landry Awards ceremony.
It's hard to believe it's been 40 years, but it's just about time to start gearing up for the 40th annual Tom Landry Open Golf Tournament. DFW FCA will hold the annual TLO Tee-Off Breakfast January 12th. The breakfast is free to the public, and Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor great Cliff Harris will be there to tell a few stories. Come join us for some fun, have a free breakfast, and help us celebrate one of the greatest coaches of all time and a great man of God. It's the Tee-Off Breakfast for the Tom Landry Open, Thursday, January 12th. Go to dfwfca.org for all the details.
Hi, this is Corey Largent, the DFW FCA area rep in Northwest Dallas. My wife Jessica and our kids Caden and Sadie Grace would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for your support and prayers for FCA in North Texas.
I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome back to DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information. Former Dallas Cowboy quarterback Jon Kitna will bring us the 50th anniversary classic moment in just a couple of minutes. Is God calling you to serve alongside a middle school or a high school coach in your area? DFW FCA is excited to announce our Character Coaching Initiative. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the information. Now, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is the largest sports ministry in the world. One of the reasons for that is the vast number of coaches on all levels who get involved. One of those valued coaches serving Christ through FCA in the DFW area is Coach Terry Grayson from Frisco Centennial High School. So why is serving with the FCA so important to you, Coach?
I'm an FCA lifer. I became a Christian when I was in middle school. I was 11 years old right before, not middle school, but like right before in 5th and 6th grade. And a coach introduced me to FCA, but I'd been going to church camp and youth group and everything, but that was FCA was the opportunity to bring my two favorite things together, being in church and learning more about Jesus Christ, and then also having sports as an influence as well. So the vehicle of FCA has been able to be such a blessing for me in my life.
Has FCA evolved over the years, or is it just the same train that was rolling 20 years ago?
Yes and no, because at the root of everything is Jesus Christ. And when you're part of the JC crew, I call it the Jesus Christ crew, because when you're part of that crew, that's always the same. And it's always strong. The bond that you have from the relationships of other coaches, players with players, just the relationship that FCA allows you to have, that hasn't changed. But I think the students, how you reach the students and everything has had to evolve, because I think you have to be a little bit more proactive of going out there and reaching those kids, because there's so many different avenues that these kids can go and get mixed up into nowadays, and do it actually a lot easier because of the social media, the lack of parenting at the houses that they have, and kids really being able to decide what they want to do earlier, but not really have that influence and the positive mentorship and everything at the household that's really been able to have a structured environment at the home. So I think that as a teacher and coach in the high school setting, I think we are have a profound job to be able to try to reach those kids at that level.
The breakdown in the family is obvious, and it's such a terrible thing. Does that make it harder or easier to reach these kids?
From my standpoint, I think it's actually easier. I came from a broken home. I grew up in an orphanage and a children's home in Oklahoma, and because of the relationships that I've had and been able to establish through some of the coaches and teachers I've had in Oklahoma, and they were my FCA coaches, and they were my teachers and everything like that. I've been able to share that experience with the students that I'm coaching and teaching, and being able to say that even if you come from a broken relationship, you can get to the place where I'm at, to a place where I'm humbled, and being able to know that somebody once told me this saying that I never lost sight of this as a now a parent and a husband and now a father. It says, to the world you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world. So being able to have that type of mentorship and just being able to have that the calling on your life, knowing that your life matters, not just for you, but just being able to have that, I think really has helped.
How do you advise other coaches like yourself, whether they're in middle school or high school, college, whatever? How do you advise them to get involved in FCA if they're interested?
Well, at school, if you're, you have the vehicle of FCA as a campus huddle leader, then also you can go and be involved in the summer times as a volunteer and help work any camp, as far as like being a coach for any sport that you like, or just being a character coach, where you go and you help any of those programs out as a person in the community, or a youth minister or a preacher or a pastor or a businessman who wants to get involved with the young man's life or a young woman's life. You can come and just help the huddle coaches, or help just go find a principal that will allow you to come in there and be a positive role model mentor, big brother, big sister type relationship, to just be able to come in there and be an extension of somebody at the house and be as a leader and try to build these young kids up.
Frisco Centennial coach Terry Grayson, one of the very valuable coaches involved with DFW FCA. Thank you, sir. Time now for the 50th anniversary classic moment, delivered this week by a member of a pretty small fraternity of Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks. Jon Kitna was a longtime starting quarterback in the NFL. He's now serving Christ as a high school coach in Waxahachie. Jon Kitna has a powerful message for student athletes that he comes across who are willing to listen.
First of all, knowing that God has a plan for every person's life. Psalm 139 says that all the days ordained for me were written about before one of them came to be. God has a plan for each of our lives. praise God if that means you get to be a professional athlete. But hopefully it means you get to be a professional athlete because it's going to make you a better person, and because you're going to use the resources that a professional athlete gets, a platform that a professional athlete gets to further the kingdom of God. So I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing God has a plan for you. And we don't always know what that plan is. Oftentimes we don't know what the plan is. But our job is to chase our dreams, to chase what God has for us, and try to do everything as if unto the Lord. Heck, if I had a football team full of kids that understood Colossians 3:23, do everything as if unto the Lord, not unto man. If I had a football team full of those guys, that'd be the greatest football team ever, because the scoreboard wouldn't matter, my opinion wouldn't matter, what the fans had to say wouldn't matter. The only thing that would matter is they're playing to an audience of one, and those are the scary football teams to face.
Former Cowboy quarterback Jon Kitna with this week's DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Classic moment. Thank you, sir. Now, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is touching millions of lives all over the world. FCA has nearly 13,000 certified huddles in 47 countries. Go to fca.org to find out how you can get involved. We would love to have you on our team. Coming up next, we'll tell you who will be joining us here on the show next week, a coaching Hall of Famer and a 3-time Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl winner. This is DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the Landry Awards.
You're invited to join us for the television taping of the annual DFW FCA Landry Awards ceremony. Make plans to join us Monday night, December 12th at the Hope Center in Plano as CBS 11 records live to tape the announcement of the best high school football player in North Texas, who also lives out character and leadership attributes on and off the field. Also to be awarded is the Tom Landry High School Football Coach of the Year. The awards presentation starts at 7 Monday night, December 12th. It's free, but you must sign up at dfwfca.org. There's also a reception before the award ceremony that you're welcome to attend. It starts 1 hour before the award ceremony and is $10 a ticket. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information. We would love to have you join us Monday night, December 12th for the prestigious Landry Awards ceremony.
Did you know that after a trip to an FCA sports camp in Estes Park, Colorado in 1962, Dallas Cowboys coach Tom Landry felt inspired to use his position as a coach to influence young student athletes. So in 1966, 50 years ago, Coach Landry helped launch the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. Hi, I'm Rick Bowles, North Texas Director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I'd like to ask you to tell us your FCA story. What impact did FCA have or is currently having on your life? Visit dfwfca.org for more information.
It's hard to believe it's been 40 years, but it's just about time to start gearing up for the 40th annual Tom Landry Open Golf Tournament. DFW FCA will hold the annual TLO Tee-Off Breakfast January 12th. The breakfast is free to the public. Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor great Cliff Harris will be there to tell a few stories. Come and join us for some fun, have a free breakfast, and help us celebrate one of the greatest coaches of all time and great man of God. It's the Tee-Off Breakfast for the Tom Landry Open, Thursday, January 12th. Go to dfwfca.org for all the details.
I'm Chris Schneider. Thank you for joining us for DFW FCA's Faith in Sports radio show, brought to you by the Landry Awards. We would love to connect with you. You can find us on Facebook at DFW FCA. Find us on Twitter at FCADFW. Our website is dfwfca.org. Our thanks to our special guest today, DFW FCA co-founder Ron Case and quarterback Jon Kitna, former Cowboy. I'm Chris Schneider, the Sports and Spirit Speaker. You can find me at radioactivespeaking.com. Godly messages with stories from the greatest coaches and athletes of all time. Find me, the Sports and Spirit Speaker, at radioactivespeaking.com. Next week, we'll be joined by two more legendary names of the football world, Hall of Fame coach Bobby Bowden and Dallas Cowboy 3-time Super Bowl champion Chad Hennings. Guests scheduled to join us in future weeks include Bob Bowlesby, Raymond Berry, Mike Singletary, Herschel Walker, and more. FCA's Faith in Sports is an outreach of DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, hosted and produced by me, Chris Schneider. Executive producer is Rick Bowles. For info on DFW FCA, contact Rick at rbowles, B-O-W-L-E-S, at fca.org. And remember this week to do all that you do unto the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless you from the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Faith in Sports.